that we have a nation of 4,000 years old, on the one hand, and has the Bible and the Promised Land, and on the other side, you have a nation only born 60 years ago, and they are demanding East Jerusalem and half of the what's remained of Israel, or of the western part of Palestine. When I say western part of Palestine, I want to go back to the Balfour Declaration. The Balfour Declaration stated that Palestine would be a homeland to the Jewish people. That was after Palestine was formed after the First World War, was taken from the Ottoman Empire and was formed and was considered the homeland of the Jewish people. This was a promise. This was ratified again in the San Remo agreement to form the British mandate over Palestine. And also it was taken in the League of Nations, and today it's also in the UN Charter. When we think about Palestine and what's remained from Palestine, we can see that in 1946, 2 years before 1948, when Israel was established, the British tore from Palestine a huge territory, called it Transjordan, brought in a prince from Saudi Arabia, Hashemite prince, and made him king. So what was that? Palestine, that's the west part from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean. And then, in the partition plan, they gave the Arabs half of the territories, but they did not accept it. And the next day, 7 armies invaded what was called Palestine or Israel, and they lost. And now they call this loss a Nakba. A Nakba means the disaster, the Arab disaster. We speak about the Nakba, and you can imagine that. Oh, thank you. And they make also demonstrations on this day. When we celebrate the Day of Independence for Israel, they demonstrate in Nakba, it means their disaster. And what is their disaster? Their disaster is that they could not annihilate the Jewish state. That's their disaster. Because if they would have won the war, then no Jew would have remained in Palestine. But fortunately, we were able to overcome their thrust, and the state of Israel was born. And then in 1967, we fought a war of defense. I'm not talking about the Bible and our roots in the Holy Land, but let me talk about international law. According to international law, Jordan occupied the West Bank for 19 years. Egypt occupied Gaza for 19 years. They did not even think about establishing a Palestinian state in the West Bank or in Gaza. It was only Israel who came to the Arabs, to the Palestinians, at their worst position when they sided with Saddam Hussein in the Gulf War. They were thrown out of Kuwait. Arafat was considered a terrorist. He was 3,000 kilometers in Tunisia. And an Israeli government, a leftist government, came over to him and said, we'll make you a king. You will be no more terrorists. We'll give you a state. We'll give you independence. We want only one thing. Make peace. And he said yes. And he wrote a letter to Yitzhak Rabin, then Prime Minister, and he said, no more war. Every conflict will be solved only by negotiations. And this letter was the basis of the Oslo Agreement. The letter was written on the 13th of September, 1993. It's a date I shall never forget. And after that was the signing of the agreement and the loans of the White House. But he lied. And those who were brought from Tunisia said that this was only a step towards the annihilation of the State of Israel. You tell me how many nations have overcome a Trojan horse. You know, Troy was destroyed by a Trojan horse. And what we did is we brought all these terrorists from Tunis. We allowed them to have ammunition and guns without any borders. And it only took a few months, and people started being blown in buses and cafes and entertainment areas. And it was risky to go from one place to another. You can imagine, I had little children. They used to go to school by bus. And I thought how cruel it is on my part that they go by bus and I have my car, because I didn't know, God forbid, that they would come back after school the same day. And you can imagine mothers and fathers, their children going to a pub or to a cafe, and then they hear on the radio that the cafe has been blown up, and everybody starts looking for his children where they are. A very difficult situation. But even then, there were many people who said that this is the price for peace. They still believe that peace is possible. And when you think of what we've given the Palestinians for the sake of peace, is incredible. We gave up our most holy places to eternity. Can you imagine Bethlehem, Hebron, Shechem, Shiloh, where the Ten Commandments were, Efrat, all these places in the Bible, we gave them to the Palestinians. We allowed them to rule the Temple Mount. All we wanted, only the Wailing Wall. And for what? We gave them everything. And we got 10,000 rockets from Gaza. And people being killed. And when you see, you say, who is a Palestinian? And what is a Palestinian? You know, most institutions in Palestine before 1948 were Jewish. The Palestine Post